Our friend, my colleague, our role model, Neil Bonnett has died before his time. The Nashville Network, Allied Signal, our sponsor, and the producers have decided that the Winners series will continue. And this week and next, we thought it appropriate to rerun the 2 Winners episodes on which Neil was the subject. There's so much we all want to say about Neil at this time, and if he caught us doing it, he'd go ballistic. So let's just look again at Neil Bonnett, Winner, Part 1.
It's not a half-bad show, you know. They've actually had some pretty good episodes. Touching, exciting, gripping. But about that den, I mean, no class, absolutely no class. I ask you, animal heads everywhere, no class, folks. But now, take a look around here. Now, this is class. And look at this host. I mean, what would you give for him? I ask you. Ladies and gentlemen, you be the judge.
We like Neil. I think he's doing a fine job on television.
He's got a good show. I like it.
I never watched him too much on TV.
Let me get into my attire here. Hi, everyone. I'm Darrell Waltrip. And it really is Winners, and I'd like to welcome you to a new season of the show. It's third. No, this is not a hostile takeover. It is sort of turnabout is fair play. Neil Bonnett has done shows about many of us, and we appreciate him, and so apparently do you. I understand that last season a poll was taken, and you viewers responded, by a margin of 3 to 1, I might add, that the winner that they would like most to see on the show was none other than the host himself, Neil Bonnett. So a bunch of his friends, like Dale Earnhardt and Bobby Allison, amongst others, are going to tell you the real Neil Bonnett story. I think there are really 2 Neil Bonnett stories, everything that happened before April Fool's Day 1990 and everything after. Here's what happened that fateful day. It's the Trans-South 500 at Darlington International Raceway.
Uh-oh, he's loose again.
Here we go.
With him.
ProNyne's going to be involved, I believe. Several cars are going to get tangled up in this mess. The track is going to be completely blocked, and so did Earnhardt. Earnhardt got through unscathed, I believe, but we have a mess down off of corner number 4. The race. Stay tuned. We'll bring you the before and the after right after this.
Winners is brought to you by Fram Filter Products. Fram, you can pay a little now or a lot later. And Autolite Spark Plugs and Wire and Cable Products. Autolite Spark Plugs, guaranteed for 2 years no matter how far you go.
Hey, you know my crew spends hundreds of hours building those 5,000 horsepower motors. I can explode one in 5 seconds. And when that happens, nobody eats. That's why my guys won't run anything but Fram fillers. You know, Fram gets the nasty stuff out of the oil, so I can go to the other end with my candles lit. And you know, that's in about 5 seconds, nearly 300 miles an hour. You can look at these guys and see they eat pretty near every day.
The all-new Subaru Legacy looks beautiful against a photographer's backdrop, but its true beauty is best seen against the elements. Subaru all-wheel drive is the ultimate safety feature. It reacts instantly, transferring power automatically from the wheels that slip to the wheels that grip. So you can safely weather even the worst of weather. During Subaru Active Safety Days, lease an all-wheel drive Legacy for as low as $199 a month.
In racing, there's no margin for error. The crew follows the same procedures every time the car pulls into the pits. It's the same way at Jiffy Lube. We follow the same strict procedures more than 50,000 times a day. It's your assurance that when you bring your car to Jiffy Lube, the job will be done right. And Jiffy Lube offers Pennzoil. Jiffy Lube, the world's most experienced oil changers. That's why if it doesn't say Jiffy Lube, it just isn't Jiffy Lube.
I don't need some fancy cologne to tell me I'm a man. I use Skin Bracer. It smells great, but it also cools and tones my skin. Confidence is very sexy, don't you think?
Original and cooling blue.
By Menon.
Peerless Faucet didn't come up with the idea for a spout long and high enough to reach over and into large objects. We merely adapted it for the kitchen. High-rise faucet designs by Peerless. Get more out of your faucet than just water.
Welcome back. This is Winners Season 3, the Neil Bonnett story. And this is your host, Darrell Waltrip. Let's go back to 1990. Neil Bonnett was on a roll. He was having a great year. His record was spectacular. In 16 years of Winston Cup competition, Neil won 18 races and finished in the top 10 a whopping 156 times. His career earnings were moving toward $4 million. In 1990, Neil was again racing Citgo-powered Ford Thunderbirds for the Woods Brothers team. Then came that fateful day. Look at this event that changed Neil's life one more time. You know, this doesn't really look like that bad of an accident, but I tell you, as a race car driver, I've been there, it's those sudden impacts, those hard stops that the car makes that hurt the drivers the worst. The car's flipping over and flying apart, that's absorbing energy, but in a situation like Neil was in there, a car stopped right in front of him, he slammed into it. The steering wheel came up in his face, and I'm sure his body slammed into probably in the knees into the dashboard and his head into the roll cage, and that's why Neil Bonnett had the severity of the accident that he had.
I was pretty upset with the guys that were involved in starting the crash, and stayed pretty upset with them for a year or two until Neil pretty much put it to rest with him, and once Neil put it to rest, I put it behind me.
Empty grandstands. I can relate to that. There's a pretty good emptiness in me right now since I can't race anymore. The thing that I really miss is just climbing in that race car, beating and banging, running wide open all day long, bouncing off the wall. I guess that's a part of it. But it always was outweighed by the fun that I had. It's tough not being able to do it anymore.
The aftermath and the uncertain time of recovery hit hard on Neil's family. Now, on the Winter Show, all we usually see of Hueytown is Bonnett's Den or the city's wild nightlife, like, you know, like giving the cat a bath. This is the Bonnett compound on Victory Lane. Hey, that's what Neil said to call it, Victory Lane. Neil lives there with his wife of 29 years, Susan, 19-year-old daughter, Kristen, 28-year-old son, David, wife, Tracy, and granddaughter, Jessica. On the property also, the L.C. Bonnett, Neil's parents. Kristen recalls the time after the accident.
It was hard for him to come home and not know who I was or anybody in the family for those 2 weeks or whatever. And then after that, it was okay. And then we were kind of, you know, not so much in racing because we wanted to see him get well and all. And then when he went back and started testing a couple of times, and we kind of feel a little bit better with it now since all those hard times are over.
When he got off the airplane, he didn't know me or mother or my sister or none of us, and that was kind of hard to swallow for a while.
I remember it was just bad, and I just knelt down and prayed. That's what I done. We come in from church, and I just knelt in front of the TV. It was on. We had the TV on, and I just knelt down and prayed and asked the Lord to take care of him.
Well, it's hard to say. In other words, I try to control myself, but it's hard to do when you see something like that. But I just tried to hold on to the best I could and hope that thing turned out all right.
I sent my airplane down to take Susan and he home after he came out of the hospital and was going to transfer him back to Alabama. And she told me, she said, Dale, don't come. She said, he won't know you. And I couldn't grasp that. I said, Neil Bonnett won't know me. He didn't know his wife. He didn't know his dad. He didn't know anybody.
Darrell, I tell you, through the injury side of it to handle it to start with, I think you've been around it enough to realize it's probably worse on your family than it is on yourself when you're in the hospital. When I'm sitting in the hospital, was out in there all beat up and banged up. I'm the guy sitting there with some kind of drug going in my arm. I didn't even know I was in there, and they're sitting out there in the waiting room. Is this guy going to make it? Is this going to happen? And I look back now and really see how tough it's been on my family to come through what they did. And, you know, I'll get over the broken bones and the things that happened, but it was probably tougher on them than it was me at the time. And I was very fortunate to have them to take care of all that while that was happening.
I can identify with broken bones and crashes, but one thing that I really I can't understand or fathom is the amnesia that you had. I mean, how did you deal with that?
Daryl, that was the craziest thing I'd ever been in. I'd had the broken bones before, and you know you're going to get over that side of it. But the amnesia deal, I mean, when I stepped off the plane, once I got out of the hospital and they carried me home, at Hangar 1, I walked right by my kids. I thought they worked for Hangar 1. I didn't know anyone, you know, and I'd get up in the morning, I'd go sit on the couch, and I'd look out the window. And my mother and dad would drive up every day, and I'd ask Susan, I said, who's that? She said, I told you yesterday, that's your mother and daddy. And I remember I was afraid to make that first appearance, and I did it at Talladega, I believe. I went to Talladega and parked outside the track in my own car, and I watched everybody go by. God, my hardest part. Hardest part was coming out of the tunnel to watch cars run.
Oh, yeah.
First time back.
Yeah. That had to be tough. I remember one of the saddest days of my life was when I got hurt in Daytona in '90, and I just come out of the operating room, and I was in my room, and when I woke up, or when I came to, I looked up, and the race is getting ready to come on television. I was crushed. They're getting ready to have the race. They're going to have that race, and I'm not even there. I couldn't believe that, first of all. How could they have a race and me not be there? And the next thing was, somebody else was driving my car. I don't think I've ever had a more empty, lonely, sick, broken-hearted, sad feeling than I had when I looked up and saw that. It crushed me.
I know what you mean. I think what a lot of people don't realize, not only do you lose the sport you're in, you lose all your friends. That's the only people you know. That's people you're in most of your life is right there in that garage area. It's tough to lose them.
Very true. Now that's Butch Nelson, and he runs the Bonnett car dealership. He's been car owner, backer, and friend of 28 years.
Neil Bonnett can do anything. He can build a house, he can build engines, he can race cars, he can fish, he can hunt. Anything he does with a vengeance. He's a very competitive person, but I think the biggest thing about Neil Bonnett is Neil's he's a giver, not a taker off the track or out of his domain of the competitive arena. Neil's a real giver, not a taker. He's a real winner.
The dealership is one thing that spans the before and the after. Now, we'll be back with more on that after this, but wait 1 second. I know there's somebody y'all are dying to meet. This is my Jessica, Jessica Lee Walker.
Brought to you by Pennzoil, the motor oil you can rely on for performance, protection, and quality.
In racing, there's no margin for error. The crew follows the same procedures every time the car pulls into the pits. It's the same way at Jiffy Lube. We follow the same strict procedures more than 50,000 times a day. It's your assurance that when you bring your car to Jiffy Lube, the job will be done right. And Jiffy Lube offers Pennzoil. Jiffy Lube, the world's most experienced oil changers. That's why if it doesn't say Jiffy Lube, it just isn't Jiffy Lube.
There's one name these drivers turn to for the quality parts that give their cars the edge they need to perform and win. The same name you should turn to for the only parts guaranteed to perform in your Chrysler Corporation vehicle. Authentic Mopar parts, available from your Chrysler Corporation dealer. Get real. Get Mopar.
Before introduction, a Moen faucet is tested at least 500,000 times against leaks and drips. So it's hard to find a more reliable faucet, no matter how you look at it. Moen. Buy it for looks. Buy it for life.
Don't you wish everyone on Earth had a rod and reel? Then again, that's the last thing you need. TNN Outdoors, Saturday and Sundays on TNN, the Nashville Network.
So where were we? Oh yes, the Neil Bonnett Honda dealership. Now, it's okay as far as puny little dealerships go, Now, if you're talking dealerships, well, I don't want to say anything, but now, I don't want to say anything about Bonnett's Hueytown fireplace, but folks, now this, actually, let me explain it. This is my backup fireplace. My really good one is in the other room. I'll show that to you next time. In addition, there was a fish farm, 225 acres with 1.5 million catfish, and a catfish processing plant that makes Bonnett one of the largest employers in that part of the state of Alabama.
I got involved with that thing before I got hurt. The state of Alabama was really trying to promote some stuff at home. The row crop farming, just like all over the country, was really getting tough. So they said this is going to be a new industry in Alabama. So I jumped on board, and 200-acre farm and 150 acres of water and about 1.5 million fish, and thought it'd be pretty easy to do, and it turned out to be a pretty good little project. And after the injury, I started coming out of the amnesia part of it, and I survived everything else. And then they told me, you got 1.5 million fish and they're eating 30 tons of food a day. What are you going to do? I went back into amnesia. It turned out to be more work than I ever thought.
The business activities that Neil likes best, though, is Neil Bonnett Collectible in a shopping center about 1 mile from his house.
I tell you, Daryl, my daughter got involved, Kristen, and my daughter-in-law, Tracy. They really got involved collecting stuff. You know, all the years, I guarantee me and you both neither collected anything. All the stuff that passed through our hands is probably worth $1 zillion that we've given it away. But my daughter got involved, and I found out when I was trying to run down these little bitty collectible things that I could get a lot of them easier than I could get a few of them. So she opened this little store in front of my daughter-in-law in Hueytown, and just something for them to play with, and they have a good time with it. But the problem is now we just got too much of it. You know, we just got a building full of it, and we sell to the public and everything. But I really have a good time with my daughter.
I think you have to give the racing broadcaster Ken Squire the credit for getting Neil Bonnett into TV. Might as well, because, you know, Squires, he's going to take it anyway. First, he was on Turner's sports race telecast.
Ken, and that's unusual. You know, last night at the Busch race, we had a bunch of the Winston Cup drivers run that race as a test bed for tonight. Not only did some of the drivers run, a lot of the mechanics and crew chiefs stayed over and watched that race to see what the characteristics would be of a cool racetrack at night.
And the Nashville Network.
And get it better as the day goes. Phoenix is not that way. You better be ready when the race starts, or you're going to be out to lunch. And this points battle, nobody can stand that right now. Talking about points.
And CBS television.
I'll tell you what, it's a pretty good game of high-speed chess, and that's what it amounts to. Positioning, placing yourself, and then pull the trigger at 190 miles an hour.
And finally, Winners, his own TV show. Now, Neil, I really am going to feel bad about taking your place, but you know, business is business. And by the way, folks, keep those cards and letters coming. It's been a short but spectacular career. And here are just a few of the real highlights.
Hey, do I ever leave you? Hello, everyone. I'm Neil Bonnett. What the hell's that matter? Let me start over, Fred. I ain't like that one. How could I miss this guy? He's owned the sport. I created a new word. How could I? I think John Force, the champion drag racer, is really 3 people. First, a relentless... Hello. Fred, quit flashing when I'm helloing. Energy. Give me some damn energy going here. I gotta get my energy up. Energy. Maybe I need to go have me a cold beer.
Welcome back to Winners, and I'm Neil Bonnett.
I hate to tell you, but I'm Neil Bonnett.
No.
Welcome back to Winners. I'm Neil Bonnett. When they make the statue, I screwed your race car how much I screwed this up. Quit laughing over there.
Just kidding, Neil, old buddy, just kidding. Those of us who make a living in this sport always say, once a racer, always a racer. And Neil Bonnett, the car dealer, the fish farmer, the collectible salesman, and TV star, he may just agree with that.
Neil is Neil. I mean, whenever you see Neil, he's the same way. He's, I wouldn't say happy-go-lucky, but he's kind of a carefree guy, so to speak. And he'd say, well, that's the way it goes, you know, stuff like that. And you're ready to hit him in the nose, you know.
He always told funny stories, you know, about something would happen, you know. I remember one time he was playing golf, and he got a little aggravated at his golf game, and he threw the club over in the lake, and the club just stuck up in the lake, and every time he'd go over there, he'd see it sticking out.
Maybe it's not another lure you need. Maybe it's a whole new reel. A Sigma bait cast reel with rugged machine-cut gears and Unilock anti-reverse. New from Shakespeare.
I love my new hot rod. Those flames scare the other guys. 5,000 horsepower helps too. And a fat bankroll. You know, we've been running Autolite spark plugs forever, but I can wring more money out of someone else. Money's good. My crew burns it. So I tell the guys we're going to run a different plug. They say no. I say I'm the boss. They say Autolite keeps this monster lit. So I tell them I was just kidding.
The all-wheel drive cars from Subaru. It only takes a moment to appreciate their beauty. A moment like this. The very moment it takes Subaru all-wheel drive to instantly transfer power from the wheels that slip to the wheels that grip, giving you the traction you need to help you stay out of trouble. Because the best safety feature a car can have is one that can help you stay out of an accident.
During active safety days, lease an all-wheel drive Legacy for as low as $199 a month. Shake it, no dandruff. You've got Selsun Power. Brush it, no flakes. You've got Selsun Power with Selsun Blue. Doctors recommend it #1 over all leading brands. Dandruff problem? No way. You've got Selsun Power.
Peerless Faucet didn't come up with the idea for a spout long and high enough to reach over and into large objects. We merely adapted it for the kitchen. High-rise faucet designs by Peerless. Get more out of your faucet than just water.
I think Neil Bonnett does a better job with the TV stuff than he did racing, and I thought he did really, really good in racing. I've enjoyed the show, and, you know, some of you guys make it hard on him, but he recovers and does okay with that anyway.
If the truth were told, Neil Bonnett is still in racing. First, as owner and team manager of the David Bonnett racing team.
David started racing, and there's times I said, man, I wish I'd never seen a race car. Yeah. Because you know what's involved with it. The hard work, things that could happen and all, but he started doing it, and he started doing pretty good at it, and now I got to back him a little bit. I'm getting in there and working with him, and after I saw he was sincere with it, I don't mind helping him, but there's still days I wish he'd never seen race cars, but I guess that's a part of it.
Does he go out to BIR?
Yeah.
Is that where he started?
Yeah, won the champion. You know, you and I both raced at BIR.
Oh, yeah. Great racetrack.
He's ran there
He's
last...
never been in the hog barn, by the way, has he? Or the pig feeder?
There's a hog barn down in turn 1. They put a bigger fence up.
They did?
Got kind of messy the last few wrecks.
I tell you.
But he won a track championship out there last 2 or 3 years, and then down at Montgomery, and got to where he's enjoying some success with it. And he first started doing it, he said, boy, this is fun. I said, the fun part's winning. Let me show you what the other side of it. So we got pretty serious with it and started winning a lot of races. And Steve said, well, he's doing it for fun. Don't worry about the winning side. But you know yourself, if you're going to do it, you got to get yourself positioned to win, and you're not going to enjoy it. And
is she supportive? I assume she is.
Well, Daryl, she's supportive now, but I think she kind of points her finger at me. As long as he was kind of playing with it and just running locally and having some fun doing it there, that was fine. But when I got hurt, I was kind of isolated at home. I couldn't get out and travel as much as I did, and I started working on his race cars. And I said, well, David, if you're going to do this, let's do it this way. So I turned it from fun into me at home. That was something for me to do to get over the injury, too. So I turned it into the serious side, and I got him working at it a lot harder. And I think she sees the transition might have been during the time of my recovery when I was locked in at home and I couldn't get out and travel as much. I started putting effort into what he was doing, and in turn, his racing program picked up. So I think she blames not blames, but kind of points that little finger and says, well, you got him into this thing a little bit deeper now, but I'm going to help him whatever he wants to do.
Neil has also been known to test a car or two, as in his neighbor, Davey Allison. And then there's his incorrigible fishing and hunting crony, the not-so-really intimidating Dale Earnhardt. Dale keeps a car ready for Neil to race anytime he wants to.
The testing we've done together, he's been really sharp at it. We did several tests. We tested 2 days at Rockingham with him on the shock test with our Winston Cup car with Childers. And we tested my Winston Cup car at Charlotte and did some more shock testing and some front-end geometry stuff and spring stuff. And you know, you make a change on the car and he could read it, and it really went through the test good. I think it gave him some, you know, it helped him to, you know, rationalize with, you know, well, I can't you know, I'm not ready yet, or you know, I feel like I can do it or whatever. And I think he still feels like he can, and he's getting better all the time and more. I think really what's bothering me, I think physically he could do it. But right now, he don't want to get into a situation where he makes a mistake and somebody else gets hurt.
Hey, what's the deal? Just look at the den. It ain't nothing like the one in Hueytown. Got my darn sweater on. What's going on?
Hey, listen, Neil, calm down, buddy. Calm down.
Calm down. This is my show.
Listen, just calm down. Now, I just want to ask you a question. Since you
Hey,
busted...
I asked the question.
Yeah, but you busted in here. Look, you've ruined the whole show. You've messed up my studio. But let me ask you a question, old buddy. Everybody in America wants to know, are you going to go racing again or not?
Darrell, I can honestly tell you and Susan, absolutely not.
Bonnett, you're a nice man, but not very believable. See you around, pal. Take care of yourself. Well, folks, this is your real TV series host, Darrell Waltrip, inviting you to tune in next week for part 2 of the story of a real winner, Neil Bonnett.
Winners has been brought to you by Autolite Spark Plugs and Wire and Cable Products. Autolite Spark Plugs, guaranteed for 2 years no matter how far you go. And Fram Filter Products. Fram, you can pay a little now or a lot later.
Join Dale Earnhardt and Bobby Allison in Hueytown for a sentimental look back on Neil Bonnett's racing career. Next week on Winners.
Nice moves with the camera.
Tell you what, come the 27th, I'll be another year older. That's a damn good.
I'm just glad to keep coming around, ain't you?
I thank God every morning when I get out of bed.
Till we can get out.
That's right. You're super. Enjoy it.
Thank you. Did you get that one? Yeah. What'd he say? Why didn't you get that? Don't you ever miss another compliment.
I won't.
Here's the way it works. If you have a candy bar and eat a diet drink, then it neutralizes. No weight gain. Yeah. Talked you right into one of them, didn't I?
That's a hell of a lunch.
Breakfast. This is the lunch of champions right here. Adios. We out of here.
The Bonnett family has asked that you consider a donation to the National Head Injury Foundation, 1776 Massachusetts Avenue, Washington, D.C., 20036.